Welcome to another episode of Me, My Wife, and Sports. I'm your host, Fitz, with my lovely co-host, Darcy.
Hi.
Last time we left off, we were talking about the Masters, as well as a little bit of the WNBA draft that was upcoming, which has come and gone, as well as the Masters. And as I has stated that the odd makers had bet that Scheffler would win it all, which he did. I think he ended up a minus 11 with Arberg coming in second, who was, I think, ranked 9th in the world. So it played out. What?
Nothing.
Okay.
Your golf news.
Yes. Well, we got to follow up on that. Now, as far as the WNBA, it was no surprise that Caitlin Clark went first, and which was a surprise was Cameron Brink, who went second, who was out of Stanford.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, Cardoza went third, but the rest pretty much fell in line. And, again, it's all about teams' needs. And I thought it was a pretty good draft class, and I'm looking forward to watching a little bit more WNBA and seeing what comes out of these young ladies moving to the next level.
Absolutely.
Now, one fact that I noticed, which I was shocked with, was the fact that these young ladies in the WNBA do not come even close to making big money.
Mm.
I think the highest paid person is, I can't think of her name, but she gets, I believe, $252,000 a year.
And now that's just according to social media.
No, that's a statistic site that tracks all that.
Okay.
So,
because I can't believe that their salaries are a matter of public record.
Well, just like anybody else, it's more of a guesstimate, and
right.
I'm sure it's close to it. And again, these are contracts that are put out now. Whether the contracts details are public record, I don't know, but I'm sure it gives a basic outline of what they would be making.
But the fact still remains that it's nothing close to what the men.
No.
What the men make.
No. And most of the women make all their, like Tarazi, she makes most of her money through endorsements, But it is what it is. Maybe with this new draft class that's bringing excitement, it'll change that.
Hopefully, yeah.
And also to follow up, the last Division I team to go undefeated, and this is male and female, was the female UConn team in 2016.
Had a perfect season.
40-0, and they've done it, I think, 2 or 3 other times as well. So,
and it was interesting that of course, Caitlin went first, but she never won a championship.
True. And there's a lot of players that went onto the WNBA that haven't won a championship.
That went first in the draft?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So that's, and even,
I just put that out there on behalf of Coach Staley. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I got your back, Don.
All right. Moving on. Today's topic, we're going to discuss a little bit about sports betting, which has just taken hold and moved forward. And I think also the sports betting has also ignited more people to be interested in not only the basics like basketball, football, and maybe hockey and so forth, but other sports as well. And it draws a crowd, and it makes folks take interest into the game. Now, are they taking interest because they just love the essence of sports? Probably not. Most of them are looking to see if they win their money off either the team or the player that they betted on. So it'll be interesting to see how the future pans out, because not every state is offering sports.
Right. Well,
online
the whole sports betting package or concept was illegal 6 years ago. The federal courts just lifted the ban on sports betting outside of Nevada casinos in 2018.
Right.
So it's not that old a concept of sports betting outside of Vegas.
And that's why you only have about 38
So,
states
yeah,
that recognize it.
right. And then every state is doing something different.
True. And it's basically what it boils down to for the states is a revenue maker.
Right.
And it is what it is. But the drawbacks to sports betting, just what was it, last year, I think it was, NFL players that were suspended in 2023, I think 10 were suspended and 7 were suspended indefinitely because they betted on NFL teams.
Right.
The other ones just betted on a sport.
Right.
Yeah.
And they were just betting on the game. There was no game fixing or anything like that involved.
That we are aware of.
That we're aware of. But, they said that I read somewhere that the ban, the sports betting ban was lifted based on daily fantasy sports betting.
Really?
So it started with FanDuel and DraftKings and those gaming things where people were doing that kind of thing. And that's what drove this move to lift the ban on sports betting.
I can see that because fantasy became big because I think you drew more people in, and especially females, because like you're leading the charge on our fantasy football league. And then you add that equation of sports betting to gain a profit as an individual. It's like, okay, yeah, I'm in.
But it was interesting that it was FanDuel, DraftKings, and those things that really got the charge started. And then that charge started in New Jersey. It was New Jersey that was the first state that said, well, hey, wait a minute. Why should Nevada be the only state that can do sports betting? Why are they the only ones that can do this? And they took it to the Supreme Court. And that's where the Supreme Court said, well, you know what? You're right. But then they kicked it back down to the states to say, all right, we're going to let each individual state say whether they will allow it or not.
Which makes sense. And as it pertains to mobile sports betting, only 28 states allow that.
Right.
Even though you got 38 states that allow sports betting overall. But when it comes to the mobile piece, then it's limited.
Right. And the other thing that I found that was, and I had talked to you about this, that I found that was very interesting was the software that is behind all sports betting called GeoComply that can drill down to what side of the street that you are on. So if you're in, we're in the DMV.
Right.
And
so if you cross over into Virginia
and you're on your app, you're not going to be able to do certain betting. Or if you're in DC and you're in a federal park, a national park, you're not going to be able to do certain betting because the app knows exactly where you are.
Why can't Apple app do better at tracking when you're trying to find?
Well, that is something that everybody should know. People are so conscious about Big Brother and apps and certain things. And the very people that should really be worried about who knows where you are the people who are out there doing all this sports betting and trust and believe that Johnny Law, if they really wanted to come get you while you're placing your bets, they know exactly where you are. They just haven't come and got you yet.
Well, too, and there's still laws where they have to have subpoenas and all that.
Well,
search warrants.
Exactly, but they know where you are.
They know where to go start.
They know
and to
where
get it.
you are. If you're betting and you're using an app, they know where you are.
Right. Well, you think about it, though, just technology in general, you're being tracked some kind of way.
You are being tracked.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's very interesting. And when I read that, I was like, that is unbelievable. And I remember, we were having a conversation not long ago where someone was using an app from another state. And they was like, yeah, but I'm not in that state. How does it know? Well,
now you know.
Now you know how the app knows that you're outside of your state, even though you have the app. The app will allow you to bet, but you're not in that state. It knows where you are because of that software that is behind every state that has an app has to use that tracking software.
Well, they had to put some kind of legal piece in there to sort of corral things. One thing I came across just alone in Q3 of 2023, New York City tax collection on sports betting was $188,000. And I'm just rounding it off. And that's just for one quarter. And that is crazy. And then, of course, Indiana, 38,000, Ohio, 32,000 for one quarter. And I don't know if that's a good year or a bad year, but that's a lot for just a quarter. Because it's projected that the sports betting industry by 2023 will be worth $182 billion.
By 2020.
By 2030.
By 2030, 182. Yes. Yeah, I saw that too.
182 billion.
182 billion.
And again, that's just a guesstimate. And then it depends too, I would think, whether other states join in on the endeavor of sports betting. Now, the problem I have with sports betting and at the rapid pace is pushing. Of course, they always say, do not bet more than you're willing to lose. It's like if you have a gambling problem, they always have sort of what do you want to call it? A tagline at the end.
Oh, the public service
announcement.
Yes, the public service announcement.
And it's so funny because they go through the whole spiel on all the advertisements, like MGM when they're doing their commercials with Jamie Foxx and all the other guys. And then either in small print or they'll say it real fast at the end.
Well, even inside the casinos, they have at the cashier's cage and by the ATMs, I'm told, they have...
Yes, you are told.
They have the Gamblers Anonymous flyers.
Right.
So, as people are standing there taking out the last $20 or trying to take out $30 and they only got $25 because they're not counting in the
ATM fee.
The ATM fee, they can pick up their Gambler Anonymous flyer. It's crazy.
Well, and that's one thing that
it's like they know the harm that it's doing, but they're not going to stop it. But here, let us give you the help, the information for help if you need it.
Yeah.
They don't put the AA brochures in the liquor stores. I mean, it's the same concept.
It is.
They should put the AA brochures in the liquor stores. If you're going to put the Gambler Anonymous brochures at the casinos, put the AA brochures in the liquor stores.
And the risk of sports betting is an addiction.
Exactly.
Just like anything else.
Just like anything else.
Everything in moderation, but it can really affect you from a mental health standpoint in the sense that people get stressed because they're hoping that horse cross the line or that player needs 2 more points to meet its cutoff for them to win their parlay or whatever the case may be. And it can also make you feel sad and depressed.
Exactly. And I don't know if I'm doing research for this or something that I was watching, but they were talking about slot machines on YouTube. It might have been one of those YouTube videos. But they were saying that people build up so much anxiety playing the slot machines that they're holding their breath as they're waiting for that spin to stop. So as they push the button and they stop breathing, and they push the button and they stop breathing. Because the anxiety of waiting for that, the anticipation of waiting for that. So can you imagine, and I can definitely understand that in horse racing. I love horse racing and I've done that. And I mean, when you're at the track and you got that ticket and your horse is coming, like you would think that you were on that horse. You could be sitting in that seat and you're riding right along with that jockey as he's coming close and he's coming close. I mean, it's all of that.
I was watching an old movie. I think it was a documentary on Netflix, and They were following about 2 or 3 guys in Vegas. And it was when I think Pittsburgh and Green Bay were in the Super Bowl. And it was following these 3 guys who were, their job was professional gambler. And the one guy said, the producers asked the one guy, hey, if you win, what are you going to do with the money? I'm going to go place a bet. That's what he said.
Oh, wow.
You know, so it's an addiction. And just like anything else, if you don't sort of control it, it can take over all your life.
It's an addiction for some.
For some.
Not
That's what I
for
say. If you
everybody.
don't control it, it'll take over your whole life. And you'll start just no different than an alcoholic, whether they're functional or not, going to work and barely getting things done, missing deadlines. And the same thing can happen in sports betting where you should be reviewing spreadsheets, you're reviewing race sheets.
Yeah.
So it can all happen in a blink of an eye. You can start off with good intentions that this is just for fun. I'm going to place 1 or 2 bets, not worry about it. The next thing you know, you're hooked. And the sports betting industry knows that. That's why a lot of these times with these mobile apps like FanDuel, I know I'm getting ready to bash well-known apps, but like FanDuel, they'll offer you money on your first initial bet, and they advertise it on TV. And if you win, you're just getting your money back, basically.
Right.
But that's how they trap you.
Yeah, that's how they get you started.
Yeah. That's your first time. Yeah, we're going to give you your 100 back.
Right.
But you go bet another 100 and another 100, and we're going to recoup what we gave you. So, and overall, like we mentioned earlier, sports betting is a revenue maker for most states.
And it's not only for the states, but for the leagues.
Oh, yeah. Because it's also enhances the fan to be more involved and go to the games or look at the games on television and so forth because they have something at stake. It's not just looking at it for pleasure.
So like I found that the NBA gains $160 million in revenue paid directly from betting operators in the form of sponsorship, advertising, and product fees.
Wow.
So that's the NBA. It's every league.
Right.
NFL, hockey, baseball. Baseball, they make $154 million.
Well, also, too,
the NFL makes $573 million.
Just in sports betting.
Sports betting.
Their cut.
in betting operators. So this is the MGMs, the FanDuels, all those little river casinos, all these little off-name casinos that have apps and things. The betting operators, sponsorships, advertising, and product fees.
Right.
They are making money off of this. $573 million directly paid to the NFL.
Yeah, like I was saying before, and what you even mentioned in one of your articles, that Vegas pretty much had a hold on this, but now the wealth has spread.
Exactly.
And I think with, again, technology has been the key to broaden everything we do in life these days for good and bad. And sports betting is no different.
Exactly.
No different.
I was surprised to see that the leagues make money from that. I mean, I didn't know why I didn't think they weren't getting a cut of it, but they every last one of them.
That is interesting because what is their stake? Are they promoting it so then they get a cut because of the promotions within their stadiums or by their athletes?
I don't know. I don't know how, but yeah.
And see, that's another issue too. When you look at sports betting, does it add to the corruption in sports?
Absolutely.
You know?
I think so. I mean, Tim Donnery from Flagrant Foul, Operation Flagrant Foul, he said that he believed legalized gambling would lead to more scandals.
No, yeah, definitely.
And so you got to believe that the capability is there.
As always. And again, it's a thing about the greed for money. If I'm a running back for a team and I got a mediocre contract, but I know if I was to maybe not get as many yards as I usually get, and the opportunity for me to make some additional money, I might think about it.
What is also interesting is there are 3 states, Ohio, Vermont, and Maryland, have removed prop betting on college athletes' individual performance.
Huh. Which I can see that, because then you go back to the Boston and a couple other old-time games where the players shave points.
Exactly, because they said that the financial gain can tempt and manipulate the outcome of games.
Right.
The ethical concerns arise from the exploitation of athletes, and it's a distraction for the players from the pressure associated.
That's what I was going to say. They have a pressure to perform.
Right, a pressure to perform.
Right.
And so it's surprising that right at this point, it's only 3 states that have done that. So I don't know if other states are looking at considering that or not, but those 3 states have removed individual performance betting because they said it leads to the harassment of college athletes.
All right, I'm gonna quiz you here.
No, I'm not ready for you.
Give me 3 signs that you can indicate problem in gambling. An individual has a problem with gambling. Give me 3 signs. Well,
I don't know. I don't know anybody with a gambling problem.
Well, still.
3 signs.
You're investigator.
You're not paying your bills. You're in the casino all the time.
Well, if you were in the casino, you'll know they're in the casino.
Let's see. Your bills aren't paid. 3 signs.
No, I would do the bill and maybe...
Definitely your bills aren't paid.
Right. And the need to bet more money.
You're always borrowing money.
And to
that
feel
could be
that
a
thrill.
sign.
Because for some people, it's an adrenaline rush too.
You're always borrowing money. Your bills aren't paid. And let's see, what else would be a sign of...
Lying to conceal the extent of your gambling involvement.
Or if you're good at it, you could be living above your means.
True.
Because if you're good at it, then, and you work at McDonald's and you drive in a Lamborghini, then that would be a sign as well. So it just all depends. I mean...
And that's why I only asked for 3. There's plenty out there, plenty of signs, because a lot of the signs for gambling can apply to other aspects as well.
Yeah. So...
But like you said, not paying the bills is a key too, as well.
I mean, there are people, like we were out and about ourselves and saw the one guy that was...
Oh, yeah. Well, when she said we were out and about, we were at the casino, hey, we go just like everybody else, not everybody, but some people, to just have some fun. And there was this one guy there, he was on a machine. And I think I sat there and watched him more so than I did play. And he was cursing machine, hitting it. And he got up and I thought he was gone. And he came back, had a handful of money, from what I saw, at least $300 or $400 in his hand. And he was sliding it in, because Darcy was going to go sit at his machine.
I was going to get on his machine.
Which it would have probably turned out well, and I would have to hurt somebody because he was adamant. He came back to the machine and just kept playing and cursing, and the same results. To me, that's a person with a problem.
Yeah, he was not happy. We do more people watching in there. It's a very good place to go and just watch people sometimes. That's kind of where we did our research for this episode.
Right.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting place. But
and in August of 2022, that was a big spike in bettors making bets. It spiked to like 5.7 million.
What happened? Why?
Folks were just wagering money.
August of 2022.
Yes.
I would have thought it would have gone up during the pandemic. People were bored. People didn't have anything else to do.
And it probably was. That's not saying that this was the highest,
right?
But this was a spike, which they saw in this one article I was reading. Yeah, so. And it's just like anything else. It's a roller coaster.
Right.
Depending on what's going on. Like if you have your Super Bowl, I'm sure during Super Bowl time, betting goes through the roof. And not only can you, or in the past, you would just bet in Vegas. Now you can go down to your local casino.
Right.
Or just pull out your app and place the bet.
And place your bet.
Yeah.
What I thought was interesting was what was it like? Football season starts, September? And it was like August. Was it August? Where they were saying you could bet in August on who would win the Super Bowl.
Right.
You know, you can start.
Well, you can bet early, and I think the odds are better.
And to me, that's just encouraging people. Come on, take those chances now. You know,
just go put $100 on every team that's that has a chance.
Yeah, or that, or $5 on every team. I mean, you know, bet low and win big later.
Right, because I'm sure the odds are real good now if you were to place your bet early.
I thought that was real interesting. I didn't even know you could do that until, you know, we heard somebody talking about it. You know, who would have thought that at the beginning of the season you could pick the Super Bowl winner?
I know. All that stuff is too confusing for me. Everything from doing parlays and all that. I was just doing my research, and it's just crazy. Sometimes I call our son, and he would say, "Dad, play this, play that, play that." And he has to explain it to me, you know. But I just don't get into it like that. But I tell you, if you want to look at more behind the scenes, there's a 60-minute program that came on in February. It was actually February 4th, 2024, by John Wortham on 60 Minutes. And it says, technology has fueled a sports betting boom and a spike in problem gambling addiction, therapist warns. And they go behind the scenes and talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly in sports betting, and some things that I guess most people don't really know. So I think you should look at it if you get a chance. Dig it up.
There's just so much out there about sports betting. So yeah, you can take this down whatever rabbit trail you want to take it down. We just really scratching at the surface on this, just to give you just a little bit of information, and go out there and dig into it a little bit deeper on your own.
Well, let me ask you this. What's the largest amount of money you've ever betted?
Like
on a sport? Whether
like
it's
a
race,
bet or...
Yeah, a bet. Since we're talking about sports betting, like whether it's been on a horse, because I know you used to like the horses.
Probably like $20 on a horse bet.
Okay. No football?
No, because I have the BetMGM app.
Right.
But I'm not good at it. And so when I bet that, it's like $10.
Right.
And it's usually a straight money line.
I understand.
Win or lose.
Right. You're not trying to get rich.
I've never won. So, yeah.
Okay. All right.
That's it.
Understand. Well, I've bet $100. I've won a couple times, lost a few times, but I know when to stop.
Yeah.
It's always made for the house to win, no matter what.
Absolutely.
They make it difficult for you. But hey, if I get a $50 win off of a $20 bet, I'm good.
And it's not like it used to be. Straight bets.
Right.
You know, you can't even bet straight in the lotto anymore. You know, everything is just
got a twist.
Got a twist to it. And so, like you said, you got these parlays, and you got bet this and add that, and
over and under, and
what is that? You know, and then all these numbers, it's just too confusing for me. If I can't just pick the Cowboys to win, but if you do that, then you bet $10, you're only going to win 12.
Right.
Well, I might as well just keep my $10.
There you go.
There's no money in that.
Now, this has been a great conversation. Like you said, this can go on, and it's more to come, especially with the advancement of technology and the consumption of gambling by the masses. So that brings our show to an end, and I want to thank all our listeners. And if you want to reach out to us, go to our Facebook page, go to our Instagram, as well as email us with questions and concerns or comments at memywifeandsports@yahoo.com. memywifeandsports@yahoo.com. Darcy, any final thoughts?
Gamble responsibly, and remember, your mate is a reflection of you.